Hey friends, welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about just overall the nature of this life force energy, this creative genius that lives within us and that is us at the core of our being. But before we get into it, if you are enjoying these fun and practical conversations on the human experience, please be sure to subscribe to this channel to support its growth. So with that said, let's dive in. So the nature of this life force energy, this creative genius, which from my perspective is who and what we all are at the core of our being, right? I've talked about this extensively in all my other videos. It's my favorite thing to talk about. Um, so from my perspective, who and what we are as these human creatures at the core of our beings is that life force energy that is animating us. It is that universal energy field that is permeating, that is saturating, that is maintaining everything in the three-dimensional reality. And again, from my perspective, we are outlets for this creative genius, for this life force energy to be able to express its infinite creative nature, its infinite creative energy. So from my perspective, these human bodies are instruments and they are an outlet for this creative genius to have this mysterious and epic human experience. So, the nature of this life force energy, this universal creative energy field, is infinite. It only knows how to express itself in an infinite amount of ways. I personally can't really wrap my mind around that. It is beyond my comprehension really to logically comprehend that through all of existence, this energy, this life force energy, it never duplicates itself. It never replicates itself. And we could get into a whole rabbit hole about numbers. There is no end to you like a sequence of numbers. You could keep adding numbers onto it and that's infinity. It's infinite. This is the true nature of reality is infinity. So that is just one thing that I love to personally remind myself of when perhaps I could be feeling like I am, stuck in a routine or a rut or Groundhog's Day, because there is really no such thing as Groundhog's Day because this infinite nature infuses itself to every aspect of this experience. So you're never living the same moment twice, ever. Like, no matter what your senses tell you, you're never living the same moment twice, ever. Everything is in constant motion. Everything around you is made of trillions upon trillions upon trillions of particles just floating around in space, being held together by that mysterious energy field, which in science is referred to as the quantum field. And it's such a mysterious thing. It's so mysterious. But the nature of everything that we perceive in our three-dimensional reality to be solid matter is constant motion. Everything is constantly moving around. It's constantly interacting with the quantum field. Cells are always turning over. There's so much going on within our bodies in and of themselves because they are a work of genius. Every cell in your body is saturated with genius. Every cell in your body is an expression of that life force energy, of that creative genius. Your body is not only just an instrument, a human creature, it is an empire. It is an empire comprised of trillions upon trillions upon trillions of cells that have their own intelligence. They are each have their own specific brand of genius. It's it's beyond our comprehension. I think we sometimes get overwhelmed. It's possible to get overwhelmed by the mystery of it all, by the complexity of it all, but also it's so simple in a way as well. Um, but ultimately, yeah, all around you in every moment, there are infinite amount of galaxies, of just life. This force is having an infinite amount of experiences. It is within all of these particles, all of these cells. Again, it's beyond my comprehension to logically comprehend the fact that this creative energy field that is permeating everything in the universe, it is everywhere all at once. It is the one that is having all of these experiences all at the same time. Let's not, we can't even get into what's going on like in deep space right at this exact moment. At this exact moment, we are floating around. We are spinning around at 1,000 miles an hour at this exact moment in time. But it feels just totally still, and we forget that that is even happening. But I just find these kind of things, these perspectives, these realities, these are just truths. This is scientific data. I find it to be exhilarating to remind myself of these things, to put things in perspective, and to remind myself what a mystery it all is ultimately, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in our own things, to get overwhelmed by the drama of it all, and then to forget that ultimately this experience is so mysterious. This life force energy is the greatest mystery of them all, but it is who and what we are at the core of our being. And yeah, one of its natural states is infinite expression. So therefore you are an outlet for this infinite creative expression. And I talked about this before, but from my perspective, our lives are a creative act. And the more we are able to genuinely align ourselves with this force through investigating our internal programming systems, which to me is our mind and our heart, and process and release self deprecating, toxic, limiting, destructive thought patterns and feelings and emotions that we have been holding on to for years and years and years, that are stagnant, from past traumas and past failures. The more we are able to do that genuinely, the more we create alignment within our internal systems and are ensuring that every move we are taking, everything we are doing is infused by that life force energy, is infused by that God force energy. It knows what it's doing. It is pure genius, and you are an outlet for its genius. But our primary responsibility is to reprogram by, again, investigating our internal environment. And there's just so many different ways to do that. I really don't get into it like as far as um do this, do it like that, don't do that, do this. There's just so many resources out there on how to meditate, um how to cultivate your own practice, what feels right and true to you. For me, it's very traditional 20-minute seated practice in the morning, just to sort of set my perspective, make sure my mindset is in tune, in harmony. I am programming myself with constructive, productive, healing, nourishing, um, and exciting thoughts, and perspectives, because we all have access to that, right? We all have the ability to self cultivate these things. So, and it looks different for everybody. I do a lot of writing. Um, you could, there's so many different ways. I could go on and on. There's just so many resources out there already. And it's an amazing time to be alive, because we just have access so easily to these things just right at our fingertips. There's so many amazing resources out there to help you cultivate a practice that feels true and genuine to you, and feels exciting for you to be able to create harmony and alignment within yourself. And it doesn't need to be anything too complicated. So when we do that, we are ensuring that we are living in harmony and alignment with that creative genius that is seeking to express itself through us, as us, always, 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 always. And I really believe that we create this environment of frustration and of anxiety within ourselves the more we suppress the voice of our intuition, and the more we um dismiss and not take on this responsibility of maintaining our internal systems, right? Because I've talked about this before too. Our human body, because I refer to it as an instrument, is no different than any other instrument. It needs a certain amount of maintenance, it needs a certain amount of alignment and of tuning up. So that is on us individually. No one else can do this work for you. So again, this is a perspective that I find to be very empowering, to understand that this responsibility is within my authority to control and to maintain. So, yeah, that's just one of the other things that I like to remind myself of, that I have this ability and it is on me to do this work. And the more I do it personally, the more satisfying and fulfilling and rich life becomes. It responds to the frequencies we are emitting, this life force energy, based upon our habitual thought patterns and our feelings. So yeah, order to ensure that we are constantly living in harmony and alignment and allowing this creative, infinite creative genius to be expressing itself through us as us, we have to ensure it has the right environment. So we're not operating from our ego mind, our human mind that is just programmed from years upon years of destructive and toxic limiting thinking that we inherit from our family, society, so on and so forth, social media these days. Um, but you have the ability to reprogram all of that. So that to me is very exciting. So, yeah, this life force energy, this God force energy, its inherent nature is infinite. It wants to express its genius, its creative genius, in an infinite amount of ways. And so your life is one of those expressions. And your unique brand of genius, which is reflected in your own unique life, is going to be so different than anybody else's that you come across. So therefore, I really think it is such a I don't want to say useless exercise to constantly be obsessing about other people's lives on social media and how they do it and what do you do. Sometimes it can be inspiring, it can be motivating, but ultimately the most powerful thing we can remember and remind ourselves of is our life is not meant to look like anybody else's. We are not meant to look like anybody else. And we are all already perfect. Our perfection lives in our uniqueness. And that goes for everything in your life, your physical body, your life, just like your gifts, the way you talk. It's perfect. The uniqueness is the perfection. There is no such thing as perfect as far as these societal definitions go. We can't look at one person and be like, oh, that is perfect. This person is perfect. Because it is the uniqueness that defines your perfection. And just as you are already perfect. You are a perfect expression of this life force energy. You are a perfect extension of God. And that's it. You are already perfect. And another let's see, aspect of this life force energy is it is whole. It is already complete. You don't need to look for anything outside of yourself to complete you, whether that be a relationship or a particular kind of job or to live in a certain place. You don't need that. You are already whole. You are already complete. And I find it to be a very soothing thing to remind myself of, that I am already a whole complete being. I don't need anything on the external to complete me, to validate me, to define me. And that also kind of is a good segue to the next inherent um uh what is this, like, characteristic of this life force energy is it is at home here. It is at home on planet Earth. It is deeply connected to planet Earth. It is a part of planet Earth as well, because to me, this creative genius is everything. It's not separate from planet Earth. You are an extension of planet Earth. You are meant to be here. And to me, this helps me really genuinely cultivate the sense of being at home within myself. So therefore I am at home everywhere I go because home is within me. And to me, it's such a comforting and soothing thing to remind myself of, that I am at home everywhere I go because I am at home within myself. I am at home on planet Earth. I am at home in the universe because we are all deeply connected to all of that. You are an extension of the universe. You are an extension of planet Earth. You are a perfect extension of God. There's no separation. And that is another inherent characteristic of this life force energy. It deeply connects us all together and to everything around us, to everything in the universe, and to everything there ever was, is, or ever will be. You are not separate from the great masters of our time. You're deeply connected to them. And that same ability lives within you. You have the same access to genius. Genius isn't reserved for just a small percentage of people. Genius lives within each and every one of us. Every cell in your body is saturated with genius. Truly, we are all just an outlet for genius. Truly, though. And the way your genius wants to express itself is going to be radically different than a Da Vinci or a Mozart, but it's just as valuable. It is just as valuable. Those kind of characters, those kind of people, those kind of human instruments were deeply aligned to this creative genius and most likely didn't doubt their intuition, didn't really internalize too much if society had any sort of thoughts and opinions towards their life, their lifestyle, how they were living. Because there isn't a one size fits all approach to living a productive and meaningful, satisfying life. That is up for you to decide what feels meaningful, what feels productive, what feels satisfying. And yeah, it's just there's just yeah, it's a bold and courageous thing to do, to push against societal expectations and to make your own way in a way that might not make sense to others but feels so genuine and meaningful and satisfying to you. um and that is ultimately what this creative genius wants to do through you. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good um list there of just the characteristics and just the nature of this life force energy. I love talking about this so much. It's my favorite thing to talk about. And I find it to be exhilarating to talk about. I feel refreshed when I talk about these things. I feel even more enthusiastic and excited about life. And that is my intention with these videos, is just to help anybody that stumbles across them genuinely fall in love with life and to become enthusiastic about life and the potential that lives within them, the genius that lives within them, and just what they are capable of, and just get curious about the human experience. So yeah, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them below. I am the most grateful that you dropped by. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next one.